Hey, what's going on, guys? Norsky here. In this video I'm going to briefly cover some of the noteworthy changes that DICE is currently working on. Now, today DICE came out with a new Dev Talk video on their Battlefield channel addressing some of the changes that they're working on after the end of the beta. By the way, if you want to hear all the details, I put the Dev Talk video in the description if you feel like watching the whole video. It's roughly 25 minutes long. Now, it was nice to see that they are listening to feedback from the community, and it sounds like they are resolving or adjusting many areas of the game to make it more fast-paced with less dead time for when you go down. And they started off their video by talking about attrition. Like, with certain weapons they will have more ammo at spawn, and some will have more ammo capacity or max amount of ammo you can carry. They didn't go into detail about which guns specifically that they are tweaking, but I would assume that it would probably be the guns in the medic or assault class, and also probably the support class. Daniel Berlin, which is one of the head developers at DICE, also stated that they were looking into having every soldier spawn in with one self-heal pouch, and it would only be a one-time use per spawn. Personally, I think adding in a health pouch per spawn will make things a lot smoother and faster paced gameplay-wise, which is great in my opinion, because during the beta it seemed like there was some periods of dead gameplay where nothing was really happening. Adding in a health pouch will keep players alive longer, and it will also help that you won't have to look for a health pouch station as often. Another topic that they covered was player visibility. They talked about adding in a thing called distance haze, and here's a brief clip of them explaining what that is exactly.
The second area that people had a lot of feedback about was player visibility, and that it was very hard to actually see the players in the level due to extreme, weather effects, or if it was contrasts and stuff like that. But we're actually fixing that as well. We're doing a couple of changes.
Yeah, and I think the key one here is that we're adding we call distance haze. It's not a fog. It's not there to hide anything. It's actually there to emphasize what's in front of it.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. You could see this in play, but in an extreme form when the heavy fog rolls in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Because then you really see people run against the much wider background. And this is something we will apply to all levels. Included in the whole visibility package, however, there's more things here. This will only help in the sort of 0 to 50 meter range. There's also the lighting itself. Rotterdam, the level, had areas where it wasn't lit properly or the build wasn't in the right state that we will fix, and they are already fixed. Yeah. But there's also special areas where we tweak this by hand. There might be an alley that is too dark given the base lighting that we have, but when we add this volume, we can tweak that and tune it. Yeah. And in some cases, they don't trigger properly. In some cases, they're too small, or in some cases, they're too weak. And we're going through that with a fine-tooth comb, given all the feedback that we got.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, like we've talked about as well, it's just like, this is not something that there's just a general, make awesome lighting slider. This is like very, very nitty-gritty, detailed work of putting in specific lighting in specific areas and locations, and finding those locations and making sure that after this wall has been blown up, now we need more lighting coming in from here, and so on and so forth. So actually it's a lot of work, but we're putting in those hours now to make sure that the visibility goes up, because we took away a lot of the shooting at icons, and that puts us in a position where we need to be better.
Yeah, much better.
Visibility in the general game.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will take some time to dial in the distance haze for it to work well, but hopefully it will be an improvement for the launch of the game in November. Moving on to the topic of player revive/player bleed out times.
So as a whole, I think there was feedback from certain parts of the community that said that they felt the game felt too slow. And I would actually agree. We've had a mandate and a mission with this game to kind of introduce highs and lows in the game. And I think we've succeeded in that. But I think where we haven't really gotten all the way is that our highs aren't as high as they can be. We want Battlefield to reach, chaos level 11 when it goes up. And we haven't gotten there yet. And I think one of the reasons is that the player, once they're out for a longer time, which means that the amount of players alive at any given time on the map has gone down. But with these improvements we're doing right now to the gameplay tempo, means that you're going to bleed out faster if you so choose. You can still hang on as long if you want to.
Yeah.
And the time it takes for you to respawn is also shorter, which means that you will spend, if you don't want to spend as much time in the man downs, that you can actually get back into the action faster.
Yeah, and we won't sort of punish players for holding on anymore either. So the timer starts from you getting downed, the respawn timer, which means holding on, if you really want to get revived, is the best thing to do, essentially. If you see a medic and they will actually come, you won't get punished if they fail to revive you.
No.
In my opinion, this was probably the biggest issue in the beta. For one thing, people would rarely ever revive you when you went down, and if you just wanted to bleed out, it felt like it took forever to do so. And it also took forever just to get back into the action when you spawn back in. So hearing that they're adjusting and improving all of this is going to make the gameplay so much better. Moving on to the vehicles. Honestly, if you love vehicles, you should be hyped just because it sounds like this game is going to be huge when it comes to different types of vehicles. It sounds like depending on the tank size and the type it is, will be much more realistic when it comes to the all-around control, speed, and damage it inflicts. Like the turret speeds on each size of tank will be noticeably different. Like a light tank's turret will be noticeably quicker than a heavy tank's turret will be. Everything just sounds more realistic in this department of the game. They also talked about a new class of tanks called anti-aircraft tanks, and here's a brief clip describing what they are all about.
Yeah, I mean, we have some very cool vehicles lined up. I mean, I get a smile every time I jump into the Flakpanzer or the Wirbelwind, because it's just so awesome to shoot those 4 cannons.
We forgot to talk about those, actually.
Well,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Another class that we haven't seen in the open beta, talking about airplanes, are the anti-aircraft tanks. So there's the Wirbelwind or Flakpanzer on the German side, and then on the British side we have the Valentine Mark 1 AA, and both of those have tons of cannons and tons of bullets flying through the sky to combat against different fighter plane classes. And
Before
different plane classes.
joining the project, I didn't actually know the Valentine AA tank existed, and when you look at it,
Neither did I.
Kind of looks like something that isn't real.
It's almost as if we made it up.
Yes,
That's true.
But we didn't, and that makes it even more cool, I think.
One of the last things they discussed in this video is talking about the planes. The DICE developers also discussed how the new spotting system has made it more difficult as a pilot in Battlefield 5.
Just explain a little bit what's happening towards launch and what we are aiming for when it comes to airplanes and the way they play.
We can talk about what I heard, at least from feedback from the beta. I think I heard that the difference between the two fighter planes was too great, and that people didn't like. I think overall, some people thought that the handling wasn't agile enough on the fighter planes. There are issues about not being able to acquire ground targets as easily as they thought they could in previous titles, maybe due to the changes in spotting throughout the whole game. So that's what I heard in response to the open beta airplane experience.
Yes. And that, I think to sort of build on that, I think the plane we had in open beta that we were the most happy with was probably the BF 109, but even that one wasn't necessarily where we needed it to be. Yeah. So right now we're taking steps to make the two fighter planes way more similar and also better than they were in the open beta. We also did stuff to visibility for pilots and gunners and planes. We extended the spotting range.
Yeah, because now you can actually see people.
Precisely, which is kind of the point of spotting. And that should also help a lot in terms of planes acquiring targets on the ground. Because we want planes to participate in the ground combat. We don't want them to be completely disconnected. We want them to affect each other in various ways.
I mean, I think we're really happy with how spotting has changed in this game. Overall, that affects the planes in a big way.
Yes.
But we've countered that a little bit by extending the range at which you can see spotted enemies when you're in planes, like you said.
It's probably also worth noting that a lot of the specialization for planes that includes spotting like mechanics like radars and things like that.
And parachute flares.
Parachute flares, they weren't actually in the beta as functional upgrades, a lot of them. And now that we're seeing them coming sort of online, that helps a lot for the planes.
Yeah.
Now, it will be interesting to see how the radar and parachute flares will work for spotting enemies. I feel like a ton of these changes that DICE is making in Battlefield 5 will really improve the overall experience and gameplay. It's just really nice to see that they're heading in the right direction. Now, the pacing should be much quicker and things should just flow smoother as a whole. It's also nice to see that they're listening to the community and actually addressing the major flaws from the beta. Hopefully they continue to listen throughout the life cycle of Battlefield 5. Now, what do you guys think about some of these changes and updates? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, and also if you like this type of content, then hit the subscribe button and help me reach that 1,000 subscriber mark. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you later.